Hey everyone! In this tutorial I will show you how to create the Lancaster belt. The belt features a beautiful floral smock center detailing and closes with bow ties, which can either be worn at the back or front to showcase the bows. This is the perfect accessory to add a fun twist and texture to your summer dresses, skirts and shirts. You can find the pattern linked below. To make the belt, I recommend using medium weight fabric. I'm using a cream colored cotton for mine. If you are a beginner to floral smocking, I generally recommend using cotton or linen fabric, as you will probably find that's easiest to use. You will also need fusible interfacing to provide structure to the belt. This can either be light to medium weight depending on preference. Furthermore, you need thread matching the main fabric. Beads can be added as well, which is optional. I'm using small freshwater pearls for mine. In addition, we will be using an erasable pen or tailor's chalk to draw the smocking grid. We need fabric scissors, pins and/or clips, a needle for hand sewing, a ruler with 1x1 inch measurements, and finally you will also need your sewing machine and an iron plus ironing board. We're going to start by cutting out the floral smocking pattern piece first. For the other pattern pieces, I recommend only cutting the back panel piece after finishing the floral smocking. Given floral smocking is hand sewing work, there's a small chance of minor deviations, as one might stitch tighter versus looser. The density of your chosen fabric can also have an impact. Hence, you might find you need to increase or reduce the back panel size a little bit, by about an inch or so. After cutting out the floral smocking piece, we have to transfer the crosses as indicated on the pattern to the front or good side of the fabric with an erasable pen or tailor's chalk. I like to tape my fabric to the table for this step, which will prevent it from potentially slipping. As you will note, this is a grid with 1x1 inch squares. It will be easiest to draw this 1x1 inch grid on your fabric using a ruler. I personally still prefer to initially mark the lines following the grid on the pattern, to be super sure I'm not accidentally adding a few millimeters here and there. After transferring my markings, I'm using a ruler to draw the grid. Once the grid has been transferred, we can add the crosses as indicated on the pattern. Please make sure to also add the center notches. The grid is now ready to start the smocking. Prepare your sewing needle with thread and tie a knot at the end. We're going to start in the top left corner of the 1x1 inch square with a cross. Put the needle at the back of the fabric and stitch to the front. Secure the stitch in the top left corner by making a small stitch, pulling the needle halfway through the fabric. Then, wrap the thread a few times around the top part of the needle. After that, pull the needle through and finish the stitch. Working clockwise, put a small stitch in the top right corner, then a stitch in the bottom right corner, and next a stitch in the bottom left corner. Finally, put a stitch in the top left corner. All corners of the square should have a stitch now. Next, pull the thread to close the square and create the flower shape. You will have to help guide and fold the fabric a bit to make it easier to form the flower shapes. As you will see, I'm folding the flower petal shapes with my hands first, before I pull the thread to close the flower shape. Secure the flower in place by stitching the center where the fabric closes together. First, make 2 stitches from the top right to the bottom left sides. Then, 2 stitches from the bottom right to the top left sides. As an optional step, you can now add a bead to the center of the flower and secure this with a couple of stitches. You can use any kind of bead you like. To make your life easier, make sure the bead fits through the needle you are using. As you will see, my bead was too small, so I had to remove my needle each time to add the bead. Regardless of whether you have just added a bead or not, for the next step, stitch your needle through the top left corner next to the center towards the back side of the fabric. Then, turn the fabric around to the back side and finish off the flower by securing the thread, creating knots. Finally, cut off the sewing thread. The first flower is finished now. Next, repeat all the previous steps to smock all the remaining squares into pretty flowers as well. I will also show the second flower in detail in this video, as this might be helpful to learn from. When creating flowers next to each other, it is important the petals of the flowers which have already been smocked are properly shaped and the petal ends are facing in an upwards direction. This will prevent petals from folding into each other. Repeat the steps for the remaining squares. All the squares have been smocked into flowers now. As the next step, we're going to secure the flower petals. Pin the edges of the smocking work by folding each flower petal end as shown in the video. This will require 2 pins per petal end. It is important that once pinned together, the fabric lays down nice and flat. It should not be too tight with too much tension or too loose and wobbly. I personally like to use the grid as a guide, as when done correctly, the 1-inch lines on the left side and the right side of the petal should match each other in the center where the folds meet. Continue pinning until all petals are done. As the next step, use your sewing machine to sew around all 4 sides to secure the petals with a 1-inch or 2.54 cm seam allowance. You can use the lines of the 1-inch grid as a guide. Make sure to use the widest stitch on your machine. Even though this stitch should not show in the final result, if you do accidentally go beyond the 1-inch allowance, it will be easy to unpick later on when the belt has been fully constructed. As you will see, I push the flower petals a little bit flat with my hands right before feeding them through the machine. This will prevent them from getting stuck in the sewing machine foot. Once all petals are secured, we're going to trim the floral smocked piece. Cut 1/2 inch or 1.27 cm on each of the ends of the length. And cut 3/4 inch or 1.9 cm on each of the bottom and top part of the height. The reason for smocking on a slightly larger piece of fabric and then trimming this down later is because smocking and pinning the flowers with narrow fabric is very difficult and will be hard to manage. Now we're going to check if the back panel piece matches the floral smocking strip and make any adjustments to the pattern piece length in case it is not a perfect match. Luckily, mine was a perfect fit, so I can move straight to the cutting. Given floral smocking is hand-sewn work, there's a small chance of minor deviations, as one might stitch tighter versus looser. The density of your chosen fabric can also have an impact, hence you might find you need to increase or reduce the back panel piece size a little bit by about an inch or so. Make sure to also cut the side straps if you haven't already, and cut the back panel out of fusible interfacing. Prepare the back panel by ironing on the fusible interfacing. Double check to make sure the interfacing glue side, which is the shiny side, is facing the fabric and not the side of the iron. Now we're going to place the belt back piece on the floral smocked piece with the outer parts, which are the right sides, facing each other, and then clip together. Sew the short ends together with half an inch or 1.27 cm seam allowance. Once done, flip the belt inside out. The right sides should be on the outside now. Clip the bottom and top parts together to the back panel. Then, sew the top and bottom together with a 1/4 inch or 0.63 cm seam allowance. Should your flower piece end up being a little bit longer than the belt part, you can create small folds under the existing folds next to the petals. I use small scissors to help creating these folds right before feeding them through my machine. However, should the difference be quite large, it will be easier for you to unpick and redo a few petals for them to be folded tighter together. Now prepare the side straps. Start by folding the strap fabric lengthwise in half and iron to create a crease. Then fold open again. Next, fold in both sides to meet the crease line and iron. I like to first iron one side and then the other side. Finally, fold the two sides together and iron. Now also add the center notches, as otherwise you would have lost them when ironing using an erasable pen. Fold and clip the side straps lengthwise to close over the front and back side of the top and the bottom of the belt. This will close in and cover the raw edges of the belt. Make sure the strap notch in the middle matches the notches in the middle of the belt pieces. Finally, sew the straps onto the belt. Make sure to also close the straps at the end by folding in the raw edges, as shown in the video. Sew at the 1 to 2 mm distance from where the strap meets the floral smocked piece. If you are using a thicker fabric, you might prefer using a walking foot for this step if your machine struggles to feed the fabric through. After sewing the straps on, the belt is finished. Double check for any loose threads to cut off and steam the belt to remove the erasable pen marks. When steaming, it is important to hold the iron above the flowers and steam them gently, but never put the weight of the iron directly on the flowers, as this will flatten them. We're now done. Congrats on finishing this beautiful floral smock belt. I hope you found the tutorial helpful, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.